Okay, we are live, Madam Chair.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Environmental Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, and the time is 7:03. We are here today to review or have a presentation by the DDC. And if the members who are on from the DDC wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Course. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much to the community board and to the committee for having us. I'm Grant Ewing with the Department of Design and Construction. I am the Community Affairs Coordinator for Brooklyn and happy to talk about this project.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lyudmila Kovalyova and I work at DDC and represent Brooklyn Program Management.
Welcome.
And I think we have Vladislav, but I don't know if he has audio capabilities right now. So I think looking at it here, that might be it from DDC's end.
Okay. Well, in addition, I would like to welcome the community board 11 members that are joining us as well this evening. But if you would like to go ahead with your presentation, that would be great.
Of course. And I'll note that we also have Adriana from DEP as well. And this is a DEP initiative that DDC is designing and going to manage the construction of. So we're very happy to share. And this is me stalling as I pull up the presentation. So I'm going to share it now. And everyone let me know if that is coming through okay on your end.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, fantastic. Well, as we said at the top, my name is Grant Ewing. I work for the Department of Design and Construction, and we're very glad to present this project and our design progress on the project. This is GKOH 1504, which in government construction speak is a green infrastructure project heading to your area. That's currently in design. I'd say we're about 50% of the way through design. And once we get to this part of the design process, we usually start to engage the community, get your feedback, hear any concerns you have, hear about the field conditions of where we're going to be building. So again, we're very appreciative that everybody could take this time and we could start this dialogue and partnership. So this is a little bit about what we'll talk about. I'll go through exactly what this green infrastructure project is, where we are on the timeline, what it means when we start construction as far as driveway access, parking advisories. So this is a, is it okay, everybody here on the screen? It's coming in a little slow on my end, but just want to make sure it's okay for everybody else.
It's okay.
Yes, okay. No
fine.
complaints. Perfect. So this is a green infrastructure project building precast porous concrete panels. And you may have seen these all around the city, but you may not know what PPCP is. It's essentially permeable concrete that will build in the gutter of the street, I guess you'd say, where the street is about to meet the curb line. So we build these PPCP panels as a way to really soak up a lot of storm water and rainwater. And the big benefit of them that the community sees all over Brooklyn and all over the city is that this alleviates a lot of what we call ponding in the area, where after you get a big rainstorm, you have standing water right there at the curb line that a lot of us have to jump over in order to get to our cars, or we have to stretch our legs over in order just to cross the street. So this is a fantastic project that will alleviate that issue in the district, and will build about 88,000 linear feet of PPCP panels throughout this project area. And that should, by my rough guess, going off of other projects in Brooklyn, likely alleviate about 3 million gallons of stormwater per year. So it's a big benefit to the community. And I know that's a persistent issue in the community after rainwater events. So this project directly targets that. As you see, the cost there is about 100 million, and we'll start construction shortly. And right now we're in the design process. So Parsons is our design consultant. And as we move forward in the process, we will get a contractor to handle construction. But just a little bit of a snapshot of where we are and where we're headed. So as you see, we started design in 2019, and we've broken up the design into two different packages, sort of just to better coordinate and facilitate and be more efficient with the design process of designing, one section of the project area, and then we're going to now design package 2. So you see where we are now. We're going to send out mass mailer 1 on package 2 around early fall of 2025. And you may all be familiar with mass mailers as community board members. We send these to community board members, to elected officials as a formal way to solicit feedback and hear any concerns or any type of coordination that community board and community leaders like to share. So final design, we anticipate late 2026. Of course, December, this is construction, so we can't tag exactly right on December 26, maybe a couple months, give or take, before or after that event. And once construction starts, it'll be about a 4-year build. But the way we're building this project is that we're going to blocks of PPCP at a time, and then move over to the next block and the next block. So one location won't experience 4 years of construction throughout the entire duration of the project. And a little bit of exactly where we're building. So CB10, I think, if I'm correct, you guys are at about 16th Avenue is the border, right? Or maybe
14th Avenue.
14th Avenue. So you have that western portion of the project area. And 11, of course, you get a lot of what we're building. And this is all through Diker Heights, Bath Beach. And so this is I think, project team, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from my knowledge, at least in Brooklyn, this is our largest PPCP green infrastructure project. And just to reiterate, that is what we're building throughout this project area. No bioswales or infiltration basins, just that concrete paneling that will go on the street. And a little bit about what that paneling is. So this is a little bit of a black and white photo. I'll show more photos that kind of demonstrate the life cycle of the construction process on this, but it's a simple, flexible build for DDC and DEP. It's simple but effective. It's permeable concrete, and under that concrete, let's see if the second photo has it. You can see here, you sort of have loose rock that is held into place by framing. So the construction process really is excavation of that area, right where the street meets the curb, installing that loose rock material and the framing to go with it, and then putting in the paneling. And all this takes around 2 weeks to a month to do an entire block of this PPCP. Of course, that's not factoring in field conditions. If we have utilities we have to manage with Con Ed or National Grid, but that's essentially what we're building all throughout this project area are these panels with rock underneath, and they soak up rainwater right after storm events. I think another detail to say, and maybe I can stop here halfway through the presentation if anybody has any questions. I don't want to, or we can also address these at the very end. But to go into the flexibility of the construction of this material, it really is able to navigate around existing field conditions. So in the community, a lot of street trees, they should be well protected by this material. In fact, some trees, we anticipate expanding the tree pit. So We don't anticipate a lot of tree removals at all for this construction. You can see that when we design PPCP and install it, a lot of what we do with matching the slope of the tree or the existing curb line, or if there's a curb bump that slows traffic, we're able to navigate around that. So it's a very flexible material. It's not a incredibly negatively impactful build for the existing infrastructure or trees around it. And so we expect trees in the community to be well protected, tree roots to be well supported, and as I mentioned, tree pits probably will be even expanded for this construction. And anyone on the DEP or DDC team also welcome to, if you want to get more technical than that, you guys are certainly the experts. So feel free to chime in.
I mean, Grant, you're doing a great job at explaining how these work. Again, they're a precast panel, and the reason why we're going this route instead of cast in place in the field is it's a lot easier and a lot faster to construct. And another advantage is that we have the quality assurance. So when that panel comes to the field, we know that it's going to be functional. We don't have to go. We will test it, but we know that it's not going to be installed and then have to be ripped out, which if it were cast in place could be a possibility if the contractor weren't to cast it correctly. We've started installing some of these not too far from you that you may have seen, and we're just starting to expand this really throughout the city. But it's not too intensive. It really is a retrofit of the street. So everything will mimic existing conditions, except the surface of the panel will look different and will serve this greater purpose of managing stormwater. The depth of it's only 2 feet deep, so that excavation and trenching tends to go pretty quickly.
Thanks so much, Adriana.
Grant, we do have a question
Of
here
course.
from, let's see, we have 2 questions. Okay.
Is it gonna extend the sidewalk? Is that? Okay.
I don't think the sidewalks will be extended, but as we're working in that area, the sidewalks will be rehabilitated. So if there are any cracks or anything that could get flagged on the sidewalks, as we're working right there, we will redo the sidewalks. So that will happen throughout wherever we're building PPCP.
Is that 2 weeks per block? Is that each side or just 2 weeks on each side of the block?
I guess that would be for
Each side.
once.
Yeah,
Yes,
one
each
side.
One side.
So it takes
Thank
2
you.
weeks on one side and you're 2 weeks on the next side.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's very give or take. If there are absolutely no utilities, that are interfering, because there aren't usually any services since this is so shallow. But if there are mains, it could take longer just because of the move outs of those.
What's the time frame of when you're doing this work? Is it gonna be during the winter or during the normal months?
It'll
think,
go throughout.
You could.
Do you have
install
the
concrete
start
panels
date
during
for?
the winter?
Well,
So
there
I'll
are.
go back to the timeline here.
Yeah, there are provisions. When it's below freezing, they'll have to use certain additives in the concrete if they were to proceed, or they would put their operations on hold until the temperature is raised.
If it gets that low.
Okay. You have lots of questions. We can move on. Go ahead, Tracy. Anne first.
Sure, I can't
Okay,
see very well.
Okay, I'm sorry, Anne Palutico.
Okay, hi, thank you so much. Forgive me for not listening closely enough, but once the water is absorbed in the permeable panel, where does that water go? It goes into the box. If you go back to your detail, please, the one the one that was, yeah.
Perhaps
No,
this one.
the graphic detail, the architectural
I think
detail.
the one with the tree root would be good, Grant.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if you could talk about that. And also I want to talk about the visual, because we already have a street where almost every street has a bicycle lane. So we have painted markings on the street. And then this does have a presence as well, a linear presence. What is your thinking about that?
Sure. To answer your first question, the water would enter through the panel, through the pores of the panel, and then it would be stored within that area where you see the stone. And there are, these crates in there that help with expanding and maximizing the storage within the stone. And it's stored there and then released into the existing subsoils. So during the design process for all of these, we had, and I'm sure you guys saw them, we did many geotechnical investigations. So you may have seen the rigs out there. So we looked at the soil layers all the way down to 20 feet below grade, as well as did permeability testing at both shallow, 3 to 6 feet, and, a little deeper than that, sometimes 10 feet, 9 to 10 feet. So we make sure, looking at all of those results, that these sites are good for infiltration.
Okay, so none of this water goes into the storm system at a different rate. It's not a pacing element.
No, this is completely removing it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And again, about the visual on the street, we, in where this would be installed, we have the pale gray, and then we have a concrete trim, and then we have like a foot of black, and then we have, oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, so I thought this might be helpful just to fast forward to
Okay.
what it looks like. So
for the most part, yeah, they are going to be almost lining up with the existing parking lane. They'll just be 2 feet shy of what is typically considered the parking lane, since they're typically 4 feet wide, but they could be 2 feet wide if we had some kind of constriction. But a lot of times the bike lane is adjacent to this towards the roadway side, so like those markings would be unaffected. There are select locations where we overlap. And I don't think there's one in your contract area that I can think of, but in one, we are trialing a section of this. It's a pilot, and based on how that goes, we'll probably expand it. But there's a section that does overlap with an existing bike lane in the roadway, and the bike lane runs along the gutter, and we'll be using like these panels but dyed green for that installation. So it'll continue to have that same look.
And what prevents the parked cars from deflecting or misaligning or sinking, if you will, the panels?
Oh, Adriana, we can't hear you that well.
There's no computer.
I think maybe to
Yes,
That's
yes.
better.
That's
Yeah.
better. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. My headphones cut out sometimes. I'm sorry. So the question again, I'm sorry.
Oh, the question is about the impact of the weight of the park.
The subgrade, yes.
Weight and movement of the parked cars, or even heavier vehicles parking on top of these permeable panels.
So that's something we've taken into consideration extensively during the design. And what we do is we really make sure that structure, that subgrade structure, is as robust as possible. We use like these biaxial geogrids. We make sure there's compaction of the stone. And so as long as that stone is properly compacted and level, that's like the key point there with ensuring the durability of the panels. Then the panels themselves are not pinned down. There's spacing between the joints, which allows them to move, which will stop them from cracking. And then that uniform, compaction and build out of the subgrade keeps them, from settling differentially.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
One more.
Thank you.
Elizabeth?
Hi. So I think I heard you may have answered my question, but you said that none of this water actually goes into the existing sewer system, so it's not going to be going through Owl's Head Park and all of that. Is that right?
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
that's wonderful. Okay, so that I was going to say before I understood that perhaps we should potentially consider using a green area here, with some kind of I mean, maybe it wouldn't take a month to do a city block if you were going to put just grass there and narrow the street slightly to enhance traffic safety. But since it's not going to be contributing to already an enormous amount of runoff, it sounds like a positive thing. So thank you, though. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. This area seemed to be a good one for our build out of the porous pavement, just based off of the existing conditions. But we're definitely able to cite a lot more of the porous pavement in the roadway than sometimes we are the rain gardens. You guys have a lot of mature trees, and those are really great, but they also take up our available space within the sidewalk. So in the future, in our future contracts, we are going to be looking at a hybrid approach of using, very site specifically, neighborhood wise, like what's the best fit, just so that at the end of the day, we're overall, maximizing that stormwater capture that we can get.
And maybe that's a
Yeah.
great segue back. Oh, sorry. Is
We
that,
have just one more
Question?
question.
Of course.
Okay, then we can go back. Larry?
These panels, they're gonna be able to resist freeze thaw?
Yes, yes,
Will.
absolutely. We have some installed now for, I want to say, 2017, like six or so years. And that was a really major concern when we started off on our pilots. But the advantage of the way these are constructed and designed is that the water, whatever water is entering them, is flowing quickly through and not getting trapped within the panel themselves.
So they won't be, but the ice will turn to ice and then the whole thing will crack apart. I mean, that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that would be the worst case. But because of all of that available storage space underneath and all of those voids, the water will go, where it wants to go, right? Gravity wise, as quickly as possible. So it won't really sit within that panel.
Thank you.
no, anecdotally, just from researching this, that Minneapolis employs a lot of these. So if they can do it and freeze thaw hasn't affected them, then it might be okay.
Or what they're getting, that's when the winter in Minneapolis gets cold, it stays cold.
Right,
Freeze
right.
50 times during the heating season, at least it used to be. Maybe it's even more these days.
Yeah.
It goes from freezing.
We've had a lot milder winters.
Anne
Yeah.
has another question.
Oh, okay. Anne, you have another question?
And you might be on mute.
And you're muted, yeah.
Given all the trouble in our community planning board that's taken place with the homes on 10th Avenue mainly, Josephine,
Yes.
I wonder if extension or perhaps some different mapping might include 10th Avenue, where we have had hundreds, I would say, of homeowners who are experiencing water in their basements because of the overused storm system. Josephine, you help me here to fill in anything with that block.
Yeah, that portion of 10th Avenue south of 76th Street is scheduled for a capital project. Awards were granted and we're moving into the design phase for 10th Avenue. And I don't know how this would, that area in particular does get a lot of street flooding, a lot of sewer backups. So do other portions of Dyker Heights on 13th Avenue and 14th Avenue. So I don't know if there are any locations within the 10th Avenue on your map, but perhaps you could, note that as Anne suggested. And my other question is are all of these locations within the Owl's Head sewer shed?
Yes, they're all within the Owl's Head sewer shed, draining to Gravesend Bay. And I'd have to look at it more closely to see what we have or if we have any installed on that stretch. But that's great information. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne.
They're going the wrong way.
And I'm sorry, another question. We have Ibrahim Ansi.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I have a few questions here. Just to let you know, I'm pro-green, so that's good material to use. The question is, who's now after installation, who's going to be in charge of maintenance? Is it DOT or Department of or DEP in this case, or is it DDC?
Right now, it's DEP. As we're installing more of these citywide, and DOT is starting to as well, we're having, higher level conversations with them about the long-term maintenance and ownership. But I mean, you could rest assured that it's going to be maintained by the city. Right now, it's in DEP's shop.
Okay, the second question now, if there is a new building to be built and these panels are across the street, after the sign off, there is a pavement plan to be made half of the street or so. Do they have to replace the same panels or they have to go with the regular asphalt pavement?
Okay, so if it's existing, the panels are there and they cause any kind of damage to them, they would have to replace them in kind. And their permit, when they go to get a DOT permit, there are stipulations in there now for all of the constructed porous pavement that outline exactly what they're responsible to do in order to protect them, as well as what they'd need to do to replace them.
Very good.
DEP, so we can enforce it through DOT. And also we've added green infrastructure, which includes the porous panels to our sewer use rules. They're part of the sewer system definition now. So DEP can also enforce if there's any illicit discharge or damages to the porous panels as well.
And if you don't mind, what's the average cost per square feet to replace? Is it?
It would vary, honestly, because it depends on how much, right? How much you need to replace. The more the like larger scale, the way we're doing our contracts, the prices tend to come down because of economy of scale. But that's something, I mean, we could get back to you on based off of kind of what our contracts are. I wouldn't know, like if you're ordering just one, it'd be tough. But what we've done is if there are damages in an area, and we know we have active work, we can connect them with those people that are ordering large quantities, so that way they're not having to, pay top dollar to ship just to them for them, right? Like they can work out something that way.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Marnie, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you so much. First, I want to thank you for extending the invitation to participate this evening, and to my board members who are in person at the district office. I have a quick question. As we're entering fall and we see a lot of leaf drop, would matting of the leaves or litter prevent absorption into these panels?
Great question. It definitely inhibits it. That's where it'll start clogging up. I wouldn't say that it completely stops it from working, but it would reduce how well it's working. So part of our maintenance, like our routine maintenance requirements, and what we've determined is the best time and routine for maintenance frequency would be 2 visits per year. One is right after leaf drop, so around this time in November, right before it actually starts freezing, because the way these are cleaned is by using a high pressure washer and a high pressure vacuum. And then the other time of year we do it is like post pollen drop in the spring, just that way that we're getting that big debris right afterwards, free from the panels.
So then I would assume, I mean, since this is such a large project in District 11, which by the way, we're very excited about, anything to increase absorption and to minimize flooding impacts, especially in the Bath Beach community, which is like a bowl effect. That's the lowest portion of the district. We're really thrilled about. But I'm concerned, let's say if you came out in October and we had a warm fall. We have all this leaf drop as we're moving into, I hate to say it, but snow season. Will we have to rely upon residents to clean that strip, included in the 18 inches? Or will you further that by doing outreach campaigns to those affected blocks? Or would you partner with the community board so that we could do that?
Those are great suggestions. For the most part, I believe a lot of these streets have alternate side parking, right? That we're installing the porous panels. So at a minimum, we'll be having the sanitation street sweepers there, picking up a lot of that leaf debris. For what they don't, right? I know it's not 100%. We're going to do our best to coordinate when the deep cleaning happens. So again, we really don't want it to be in October. We're going to try and aim for November. And then again, yeah, I think our communications with you guys moving forward are going to be a big priority with making sure that these continue to be successful. And actually, DDC had reached out to us at DEP not too long ago regarding an installation that they were doing, and if we could work out some kind of flyer communication for them to hand out to residents with just like a couple of notes on, what it is, and also kind of the don'ts, like some key points that you just to, remind residents, that may have these in front of their homes on things like not to do, with storing soil or, things that you probably wouldn't do in the roadway anyway, but a reminder that it's especially harmful for the panels, which we are hoping to finalize soon, and we'll be able to distribute that to you as well.
Wonderful. We'll blast that message out there too. And we'll work with our community partners to translate it so we don't miss anyone. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more?
No, that's it. Okay, Grant, you're back.
Well, thank you, everyone. Now back to the blueprints and talking about construction. That's what we like at DDC. But no, I guess just to echo that last point, this project, maybe more than others, because it's in the roadways where you park, and we're talking about driveway access, and we're talking about maintenance. It is really a partnership that we see in the design process and the construction process between DDC and DEP and community leaders like yourself. So just to get back into the construction a little bit and round out the presentation, we don't have a contractor yet on the project, of course, and they will have, of course, a large hand in deciding where we start building. But with previous projects, how we've navigated construction, navigated utilities in the area, we've always started in the south. The projects that we're doing now, just north of you guys, Borough Park, we're doing that. So we may anticipate that and work northwards, but again, once we get further in design and have a contractor on hand, that'll become clearer, and you guys will be the first to know. So this is one of the last slides, and again, what we like to do at DDC when we build these types of projects right outside of your homes, we like to have a lot of coordination with the community. And so there will be a traffic plan, and the stipulations is that a roadway will never be shut down for the project. We may, of course, we will put up parking advisories, and you can't park on the side of the street that we're working on, but that does not mean that a roadway will be shut down. So we will maintain the flow of traffic throughout the entire project area, wherever we're working. So you won't have that nuisance to deal with, and we'll make sure that whomever we have as a contractor follows through with that promise. We also have in the stipulations of the contract maintaining driveway access if we're working outside of someone's driveway, and we'll likely be working from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Once we're done at that 4 p.m. window, we will restore that driveway access, likely through putting down metal plating so the property owner can get back into their drive. I think maybe one other thing to note is that on our active construction PPCP project in Brooklyn. We have what we call at DDC a community construction liaison. Maybe you guys are familiar at the board with a couple of our projects in the district. These are people on the ground that represent the project, represent DDC, and it is their job to talk directly to the community, hand out those parking advisories at 24 hours ahead of time, so everybody knows that they need to remove their car, or they may get towed. And if they do get towed, the CCL also connects the individual with the tow company to mitigate the issue, solve the issue. So the CCL will be the point person once we start active construction, a point person of relaying what our work is and where we're working, but also relaying concerns back from you all to DDC about if there's, a certain holiday or parade in the area and we can't work on a certain block at a certain time. That's information we love to know so we can be flexible and as accommodating as possible. So that's really the name of the game for us in this project. We know it really will benefit the community at the end of the day. So we want to make sure that during the construction process, we're still benefiting the community as much as possible. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we saw this slide previously. And we have a lot of questions, but are there any other additional questions? Of course.
I do have another question. I guess it's for DEP. Do you have a target of how much stormwater you'd like to see captured with the addition of this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of this is for our consent order with the state to reduce combined sewer overflows. And for all of the green infrastructure we're implementing throughout the city, the target is to reduce the combined sewer overflows by 1.67 billion gallons per year. And we have a pretty stringent milestone schedule to get there. And this particular project, this area, would reduce, hold on, I had the numbers up. I have the annual stormwater managed. I don't have the CSO number, but the annual stormwater would be 83 million gallons per year of stormwater managed within the area. And then we have a calculation that we do to determine the equivalency with the combined sewer reduction based off of that, and that takes into account like receiving water body, but it'd be pretty close to that.
Thank you. We do have another question from board member Ann Flutico.
Yes, that's a lot of gallons. Can you tell us what percentage that is of the current stormwater?
Of the total target?
Yeah, I understand. I understand the gallons sound great, but I don't have a perspective as to what percentage that a benefit that is.
Well,
does it believe 10%, or 20%, or how much?
Combined sewer overflow.
I'll give you a high level number. Just give me a second. We got a calculator.
Turn us into the combined sewer overflow tank, This is really all it's sponge absorbing wise enough. Much of a difference.
They say it will.
That's what I'm saying. Percentages and gallons. That's what I'm saying. That is the right track.
It's like the minimum international city bathroom back now. So.
I do have a question for Grant while we're,
Right.
Of course.
this is working out. Is there anywhere in the vicinity of this project where they have been installed if I wanted to go and actually take a look at it?
I can send
Provide
you,
like a location?
of course, I can send you exact locations, but these photos were from Borough Park. So we've been, phase 2 is this is phase 4. Phase 2 of the active project, that's the only one that's in construction right now. And it got Borough Park is kind of the southern border of it. And I would say then Flatbush is the northern border and all the way to Sunset Park. So I can send you exact locations, of course, if you want to take a nice walk.
Yeah, that
and-
would be great.
Borough
Thank you.
Park and
Yeah,
Sunset Park are
there are-
close.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there are a few that border Sunset Park, so you definitely see it if you headed into that area.
Yes.
And we also have on the DEP website a green infrastructure map, which is regularly updated. And if you zoom in on the map, whichever area, you'll see green infrastructure data points at various stages of either saying that they are designed or in construction or constructed. So that could give you more information on, just overall where we have the green infrastructure, even citywide. And then in regard to this particular project, matching up with like our overall target for the combined sewer overflow reduction, it's about 5%, like high level 5% reduction. And again, we've been implementing green infrastructure since 2012, really saturating the city with various green infrastructure types that include porous pavement, also include rain gardens and infiltration basins within the right of way and on site at schools, parks, NYCHA, all that serve the same purpose of ways to convey, capture stormwater and hold it or infiltrate it as much as possible.
One last question. These blocks still retain their catch basins at the corners, correct?
Absolutely. That's
Yes.
always going to be there as the overflow. So these are designed, right, to manage like over 90% of rain events, the typical rain event, about an inch over the rain event. And so anything that would be in excess of that would find its way to the catch basin.
Great, thank you. All right, do we have any more questions? No,
Okay.
Well, I want to say thank you very much for your presentation. We really appreciate the information and we'll be looking forward to seeing how this progresses.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you,
also
everyone.
share those locations whenever you want to send them to us. So we'll maybe we could each go out and take a little field trip. Yeah.
Great.
I certainly will. I'll send those off tomorrow, and again, we look forward to the partnership with you guys. I think this will be a fantastic project.
Great.
Wonderful. And again,
Thank you.
thank you CB11 members for joining us tonight. All right. Have a good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
night,
you all.
everyone.
Great questions.
Thank you.
Take care.